Hello and welcome back to what might be my most requested video. This is recruiting for a multiple offense in college football 26. The reason this has taken so long is a multiple offense really doesn't have its own signature. It takes every piece of every offense that we've talked about so far and takes the best pieces of all of them. So it gives you your best spread option. It gives you your best power spread. It gives you your best air raid. It gets a little bit of everything. In that idea, it's kind of a jack of all trades. And I've said this before. I believe I said this about the multiple defense. Jack of all trades, really master of none, but it also becomes the most adaptable offense for you. And that's why you see a lot of high-end teams using this. They don't really specialize in an offense. They specialize on being adaptable and being able to do a lot of things well. Speaking of teams that do this, let's look at the playbooks. The playbooks that you see on the screen right now are all multiple offenses. Now, some of them are heavier run-based. So Michigan, I think we all know, is a heavier run-based offense. You get like the Alabamas. The Alabama playbook has a little bit of everything. Nebraska tends to be a little bit more spread, but with a good run game in it. Northern Illinois tends to be a little bit more versatile with everything they do. I will say, looking at this playbook, I like the Georgia playbook. I really like the Boston College playbook. And I'm a big fan of the Arizona State playbook. I think those three are the most versatile in here. But I will say, don't sleep on the North Carolina playbook. There's some very good idiosyncratic uniqueness in the North Carolina playbook. But if you have a jack of all trades playbook, but a master of none, how do you recruit for that? Because what happens if you want to adapt to a different style? I'm going to tell you, you recruit the best you can possibly get at each position at what they do. And starting with that, we're going to start with the quarterback. And for me, the best quarterback in the game is the pocket passer. Now, you do want some speed on the pocket passer. And what I will say there is, I would say 80 speed on the pocket passer would be very, very good. Now, to be fair, you're only going to find this probably on like a 3-star gem, 4-star and above. So if you're rebuilding, don't worry as much about the speed. Just take the option game out of your multiple defense. Bowling Green is very good for this, by the way. Bowling Green, if you have a very good tight end, because that's where Harold Fannin came from for the Browns, Bowling Green's a great job of making the idea that you don't have to run with your quarterback, and you can still take advantage of the other weapons in your offense. If you're more comfortable with a mobile quarterback, I would actually go from a pocket passer into a dual threat. Especially the athlete dual threats. The athlete dual threats right around that 3-star level tend to be incredible throw power and still very mobile. The big difference you're going to have here is you will not get the throwing ability that the pocket passer does. I just feel like with a multiple offense, you want the best possible passer you can get so you can adapt to different passing styles, and then you make up for the running without a mobile quarterback with some really good running backs and really versatile running backs. When it comes to versatility at the running back, the top option for me is the East-West playmaker, especially athletes. Again, when I talk about these positions, athletes tend to be a higher version of these archetypes in terms of raw abilities. That being said, I have noticed in recruiting athletes, a lot of times when it comes to football skills, the athletes are more raw ability skill, like raw speed, acceleration, strength, that kind of stuff. But their football skills are just behind what you will find in the normal archetypes. So keep that in mind. Athletes, higher raw skills, not as good football skills, but that actually can come. I think you can teach football skills in this game easier than you can teach raw skills. So the other side of this is East-West playmaker is going to be the best overall running back for me. I think they do a little of everything well. They're considered East-West because, they can get side to side on the field. They can outrun a lot of the defense. but they can still be between the tackles. That being said, if you want a more power-based in between the tackles, I would say the north-south receiver is the best variation of that. Now, there are some people that will tell you the elusive bruiser. The contact seeker, I don't think ever gets enough speed to really be a threat in the middle. The north-south receiver does a little bit of all of that, plus it adds in the ability to catch the ball. And again, when you're running a multiple offense, you want to be able to catch the ball, run between the tackles, and run outside the tackles. Elusive bruisers, I truly believe, lose the ability to run outside the tackles. I think East-West Playmaker and North-South Receiver have the ability to run in between the tackles, outside the tackles, catch the ball, and do all of them at a high level, depending on your offense. So again, you might want to tweak this a little bit to whatever you run, but I think the East-West Playmaker and North-South Receiver are the best way to go about this. Wide receiver. There are two different receivers here. Wide receiver and slot receiver. And again, this is going to be what I find to be the best overall players on the outside, and that would be the physical route runner. Yes, the comment section is going to fry me for this one. We have finally gotten around to the fact that I think the physical route runners tend to lean towards the Jeremiah Smith archetype way more than any other position in the game. What does that mean? Does that mean you can't go with another player, like the contested specialist? No, of course not. I think contested specialist could work. But I think the physical route runner is the best mix of speed, route running, physicality, and being able to go up and get the ball. Again, you want players that are adaptable to different situations, adaptable to different offenses. Now, if you're running Michigan, sure, a contested specialist would be fine. Just a big body receiver that you want on the outside. If you're running like a more spread version, like I said, like a Northern Illinois, maybe you want to have some speedsters on the field. Maybe you find a gem archetype. Go for the gem over this. I'm going to be very clear about that. One of the big things about the way I recruit is if I'm a small school and there's a four-star like elusive route runner, even though I like elusive route runners, but elusive route runners for me at higher end school don't tend to be as good as the physical. If there's a 4-star elusive route runner versus a 2-star physical, I'm probably going to go for the elusive route runner 9 times out of 10 and then build the rest of my offense around the physical. Always go for the higher end player, but if you're trying to get that good fit and get all of your offense together to where you can adapt, I think the physical route runner does that the best. The slot position, a lot of you know that I like to keep the slot wide receiver separate from the wide receiver, and I love route artists. There isn't a route artist that I've recruited in this game that can't get open. Either from a whip route, a zig route, in, out, anything that has a hard cut in it. I find that route artists, while they're not as fast, they're always going to be open. And that's why I love to have them in the slot, is because they're my safety blanket. A lot of players like to use the halfback check down as a safety blanket. A lot of players like to use their tight end as their safety blanket. For me, my slot receiver as a route artist is my hey, I know if my outside guys are locked up or if the safeties are over my outside guys, I know my slot receiver has me. I know that I can blind throw my slot receiver against man coverage, and I know he's going to be open. So that's why I love route artists. I have not recruited a route artist in this game that has not had the ability to get open on route running. So I think route artist is the best way to go. When it comes to tight end, I think the best tight end overall, and I think the best tight end for an adaptable offense, is the pure possession. Now, remember, you also have a pure possession athlete tight end. Little more of the raw abilities, a little more of the speed, the acceleration, the agility, the change of direction. Not as much of the catching the ball, the route running stuff. So remember that. Two sides of that. I still think they're both better. Again, if you're running a Michigan, if you're running a Minnesota, more of a run-based offense, maybe you want to lean more into a pure blocker here. If you're running Boston College is pretty versatile. If you're running App State, which tends to be a little more spread out, where the tight end gets split out a little bit more. Maybe you want to go with the tight end in a vertical threat, and that's fine too. I think pure possession end of the day is going to be, it's going to work for every single one of those playbooks better than any other archetype. Remember, when I'm talking about recruiting for multiple offenses, we're talking about what can do the most for the most spots. And honestly, every archetype on this list, I think gets drafted more too. I think pocket passers get drafted in the NFL way more than you see dual threats. It just is what it is. Offensive line. We're gonna go 3 different positions here. Now I'm gonna tell you there is. Let me just put this right here. If you are running a well-oiled machine and you can get the highest of the high of the high, I think you can just do a well-rounded across the line. It lets you run zone, it lets you run power, it lets you pass protect. It does everything. Again, jack of all trades, master of none. That being said, I have a different setup that I've gone with. It's a little bit more curated. And that is tackles are pass protectors, guards are agile, and center has a dual threat here, I guess. Center is the agile for an athlete only or pure strength. The build of this is most of your pass protection issues are going to be on the outside, and the least amount of your run issues in terms of being stopped are on the outside. Normally, if you run stretch, your tackle is not going to be the problem. Normally, if you run power, your tackle is not going to be the problem, even as a pass protector. I like to have bookends on the outside so I can step up a little bit in the pocket or stay still in that little area of the pocket. Like if my pocket is like this, if my pocket ends up being like this, I like being able to stay in this little area right here. And having really good tackles allows you to do that. The reason I go with the combination of the agile and the pure strength, and again, the agile athlete only is because you can get some strength out of an agile lineman. These make really good defensive tackles as well, but the big thing for me with agile is higher strength. You can get a higher strength rating out of agile that way. But the big thing is, most of the defensive tackle stuff you see, most of the interior linemen that are pass rushing are more power than anything else in this game. Speed rushing defensive tackles are rare, and good ones are even more rare. But a lot of your run game is going to be guards pulling. So what you're doing here is you're essentially making it that if you have your center, guard, and guard, right? So let's say you have your tackle and your tackle, and let's say they're both power. You're able to get this, let's say you're running this way, right? Your center is going to block down on this tackle. This guard is going to have the agility and quick step to be able to get out in front, and you can essentially run past this power tackle. That's an outside run. What about pass rush? Well, pass rush is the same thing. Normally you're going to have, if you have one really good speed rushing, that's a great thing. But if you've got 2 power rushing tackles, normally you can double team one of them and then have the tackles go against the ends this way. Normally you're going to have a really good, like normally you're going to have your gap specialist or a nose tackle even. Let's erase that real quick. Normally one side of this, depending on what side this is going to be, normally it's going to be a nose tackle and then your pass rush tackle, and you can double team the pass rush tackle in the pass game. That's the big thing about this multiple offense is you have to know your opponent. You have to understand what your opponent's roster is and what your combination is. And the nice thing is if you've got your raw strength center, they double team better than anybody else in this game. So you have your agile guards that you're now double teaming your center onto for pass rush, and you are set, ready to go. Like I said, well-rounded does a decent job of it as well. Don't get me wrong, but I think well-rounded is if you can get 4 and 5 star well-rounded, where while they are going to be a master of none, they're so good at everything that you don't need them to really master everything. So that's my thoughts on recruiting for the offense. When it comes to play calling the offense, and again, I want to be very clear about this. This is Alabama's playbook. So Alabama's playbook, if you can see here, sorry about that. They have a lot of different gun looks. Matter of fact, if you go into their gun, their first gun look is F twins over. Now this is just a jet motion inside zone. This is complete run misdirection run. But even slot right weak over, split twins offset. Like this is something you see in like a spread option playbook. You see this is where the triple option comes in. Now, if you've got a pocket passer, you're not gonna run power read. You have to. Every single one of these multiple playbooks are going to have plays where you go, I don't have the personnel to run this. And you need to understand that when you're going for the multiple offense, this is for the true brainiacs, the true people that really want to run a college offense that you have to consider everything around before you make every play call. This is not the playbooks you're going to go, coach suggestions. Coach suggestions are not going to work in this playbook. You have to know your personnel. You have to know who you're going against. If it's an Alabama-Georgia game, you need to go into the depth chart. You need to go, oh, wait, let me see here. Coach, depth chart. I'm going to go into Georgia real quick. And what am I running against on defense? I got a power rusher on the edge, a speed rusher. I've got a gap specialist and a pure power. Their nose tackle's probably going to end up being that gap specialist. The gap specialist. So the gap specialist, pure power, I'm not that worried about them pass rushing in the middle. I'm more worried about the outsides. I got to remember that. They've got inside disruptor, no real pass rush abilities. I'm going to go over and look at the longest scroll in history. Okay, so they've got a good power move and a good finesse move at their gap specialist. And obviously Christian Miller being a superstar, but I'm going to go, okay, they're more power move than they are finesse move, sans Christian Miller. So I'm going to make sure I double team one of these two defensive tackles at all time. Their edges, we got Elo Medozi on the outside. I'm going to go for my base packages. We know he can rush both. So I want to make sure my pass protectors can one-on-one these guys. That's why I have pass protectors. That's what on these edges, even with inside disruptor, he's a power rusher. My pass protectors are not going to have to worry about him. I got both of them. So it frees my three guys in the middle up to do what they want to do. Okay? And then I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to double team Christian Miller most of the time. That means I've got to keep my eye on 44. When I step up in the pocket, is 44 blocked? Is 44 ready to go? Okay? When I want to throw the ball, I've got a route artist at slot receiver. Okay, well, who is my route artist going up against? All right, so they're gonna have safeties at their slot cornerback. Georgia loves doing this at their 45. So I've got Jonel Aguero, right? At their main. Okay, so he's got terrible man coverage. I know my route artist is gonna burn him most of the time. So now I'm already thinking in my head, okay, my route artist is going to be a big time piece here. I know that. What about their sub linebackers? I'm going, wait, okay. So CJ Allen is their main sub linebacker. When it comes to sub linebackers, the nickel package, the main one is going to line up. Let's say your tight end is on this side of the line, right? The first sub linebacker is going to be, this is sub 1, this is sub 2. Okay? Always remember that. Sub 1, sub 2. Okay? So your sub 1 is going to be the one that takes the linebacker more often. Or that takes the tight end more often, right? Okay, so he has got 72 zone coverage, which is decent. Man coverage, 69. Not as worried about that. This guy is a thumper. I'm not worried about it. Like, now I know my tight end is a point of contention. I can go after him. I'm going to go after the cornerbacks now. Let's say I've got physical route runners on the outside, right? So Dalen Everett, we know Dalen Everett All-American. We know Dalen Everett's going to be really good. You can see blanket coverage already on there. So I'm going to go over to Dalen Everett's man and zone cover. I'm going to go, okay, I know 6 can cover. Even my physical route runner, Dalen Everett's 6'1", 190. He gets hands on people. He's got 86 press. Even Daniel Harris has really good press, right? But what do we see here? Oh, wait, Daniel Harris doesn't have as good a man coverage. 77 is good, but if I've got a good physical route run on the other side, we know those physical route runners with that medium route running, we know he might be open. So now I'm looking away from 6 every play. I'm essentially taking the Darrelle Revis approach with 6 right now. I don't want to throw at Dalen Everett, okay? I want to throw at Daniel Harris, I want to throw at the slot, and I want to throw at the tight end. That's what you get to do with this. There's a lot of game planning you can do with most offenses. This is the highest level of game planning you can do with any offense in this game. You can attack their weaknesses because you have the options. There are a ton of slot routes in this game, in this playbook. There are a ton of tight end routes in this playbook. There are a ton of different runs. If you go in and you go, okay, wait a second. So let me look at this real quick. Their defensive tackle is, we know Christian Miller is an inside disruptor, right? So we don't want to go inside. We definitely don't want to go inside against these guys. Hammer and outside disruptor, we want to run away from 0. Why can we do that? Because we've got agile guards that can pull out away from 0, and we've got a good pure strength center that's gonna get that first knockoff. And we've got, show it again, we've got east-west playmakers and even north-south receivers that can get outside. They have the agility and the ability to get outside. So when Alabama plays Georgia, we're not going to win that game between the tackles more often than not. What we're going to do is we're going to try to get them outside, right? That is how you play call this game. This is not a, hey, I'm going to teach you how to run the playbook, right? This is I'm going to teach you how to run any multiple playbook. And that is go in, find your blades. You can favorite them if you want. I'm pretty sure they fixed the favoriting issue. But like, I want to go trips, tight end, offset. I want to, now I'm isolating that tight end against their sub linebacker unless they're in zone coverage. And if they're in zone coverage, now I already know I can beat everything. I can say, oh wait, now I've got you out of your man. I've got Dalen Everett in zone on one side. I can throw away from that kind of stuff. If I want to go, they got so many trips. I love it. God, I love this playbook so much. Tight open, spread wide slot. You have all of these really, really good spots, and you've got a quarterback reminded that can make those throws. That's the big thing here. I know people love mobile quarterbacks. I know you fall in love with mobile quarterbacks. Your quarterback has to be arm first in a multiple offense. Your quarterback has to be an arm first. It's nice that they're mobile. It's nice they can get around, but your quarterback has to be his arm first. What you should do is go back in this playlist, every one of these offensive schemes, take your favorite stuff out of every one of these schemes and put it in, and you've got yourself a multiple offense. Every single multiple offense in this game is run the same way. Even if it had, like I said, Michigan's a multiple playbook that runs a little heavier. Alabama, you get a little bit of everything. Wyoming, dude, play Wyoming once. The jerseys are worth it. But any questions? Throw them in the comments. The next video, I'm going to teach you about terminology on defense. What are you calling? When are you calling it? Why are you calling it? Look for that video. Hopefully this week, might be next week. Either way, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be one of those, why am I calling 4-3 over? Why am I calling 4-3 under? Why, when, and why do I call that stuff? Until next time, look good, be good, do good things, and I will see all of you glorious creatures a little bit later.